Everybody, it's Lee Caraher, and this is Everything Speaks, where we talk about how everything you do and say speaks for you, if you want it to or not. Today is January 4th. It's the beginning of the new year, and I like a new start. Every day is a new start. Every Monday, every day, every day, one of every month, every birthday, every anniversary. For me, every Labor Day. Who doesn't like new pencils? Every January. And what I really like about these new starts is that they help me review, adjust, and move forward on my goals. They help me to get real about the difference between my goals and my actions about getting towards those goals. And every year I choose a word that I want to thread through my life day after day, week after week, month after month, through the whole year. It's the touchstone for my focus, and it helps me activate as opposed to just wish. In 2023, last year, my word was energy, and I organized pretty much everything to optimize my energy through lots of different decisions I made, trials and errors, different 30-day challenges, biohacks, and deliberate focus on what serves me and my goals well and what does not serve me well. This year, my word is clarity, or if it's in the active, being clear. And I'll be focusing on being clear on the podcast throughout the year. It helps. This podcast is named Everything Speaks. So I got that going for me for sure. And I've organized the next really 3 months at least of podcasts around this concept of how to be clear, because it's not easy. It's not easy. Clarity is the core of effective communication in every single form. The written word, the spoken word, the behavior, the representation, the image, the association. Clarity is at the center of everything. And I'm all about being clear. And I acknowledge that it's not always easy to be consistently clear so that my intentions are understood and acted upon by the wide range of people that I come in contact with. It is hard to be clear. Or to be clear, it is hard to drive clarity unless you are focused. And I think being clear with positive intent is the highest game. It has the best leadership. You're the best teammate. You're the best friend, the best spouse. You're the most efficient person. And I think it's a very optimistic way to live. Pretty optimistic person. Also a very pragmatic way to live. I like to call myself pragmatically optimistic. And being clear provides energy to every situation. Being clear with positive intent provides progress. And you see what I just did there? I took last year's word and this year's word, and I put them together in a continuum, which I like because it's more synergistic. I think it probably sounds very black and white. I actually think being clear allows for much more nuance, because in the whole scheme of things, very little is black or white, good or bad, yes or no. And being clear allows you to be absolute when a good choice and a bad choice presents itself, but it also allows for reason in how to thread the needle and make decisions when it's murky or it's the gray matter. And most of our world is gray matter, even though if you watch the news, it looks like left and right, good and bad, up and down. And that's just what the media shows you. Those are the extremes. The bulk of people are in the middle. I think that being clear is a future open mindset that helps you navigate the unknown. And if we've learned anything over the last few years, that navigating the unknown is a hard skill we all need. So as much as communication, parts of communication are called soft skills, I think the more we harden those skills, the better it is. Clarity brings understanding. Understanding drives personal and team performance. Ironically, being clear is complicated because it requires work and because we're human and everybody's a little different. everybody's a little different. Everybody hears differently. Everybody learns differently. So being clear is not as simple as being clear. But once you've done this foundational work, being clear is efficient, and that efficiency really can help drive positive energy. So, how to be clear? Let's just talk about that for a second. Being clear with others requires you to be clear about yourself with yourself. When you understand yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, your worldview, you can just be much clearer in your communication, all of your communication, including your behavior. If you're leading a team, a project, a task, when you're not clear on your role, how your work fits in with the rest of the team, how the work fits in with the bigger picture, it is easy to create chaos and confusion. And confusion eats performance all day long. And we don't have time. We all know that we do not have time for wasteful energy in the work, well, anywhere, but in the workplace with our teams, it just kills performance. It kills efficiency. It eats at the soul. And if it eats at the soul, it eats at the team. If it eats at the team, it's a vicious cycle. Make it a virtuous cycle by being clear and repeating yourself and repeating yourself and repeating yourself. So you got to start with yourself. There are lots of tools out there that you can help you get clarity about yourself. I'm going to go through a few, all of which I have used in my career with coaches or by myself or through reading or etc. But here are some tools that can help you get clarity on yourself. There are so many different assessment tools you can use for you and your team if you want to. None of them are perfect because we're human and therefore different than whatever someone says this is a standard. There is no standard. As I like to say, everybody's a special needs child. But many of these tools can provide a common framework from which to move. And I've done a lot of these in my career, a lot of them. The ones I like the most I'm going to share with you now. It's really important, though, before I share these tools with you. One, there's not only one tool. Two, there's not one good type. There are no bad types. There's no bad personality profile. There are no bad types. Every type has a strength and a weakness, positives and negatives. And the more we understand those, how our profiles come out from these assessments, the more we can lean into our strengths and make sure that we are compensating for the things that we're not as strong at or weaknesses. The ones I particularly like are Strength Finders from Gallup Clifton. This is the original book here. Strength Finders from Tom Rath. It's now a Gallup. Yeah, it's Gallup Clifton Strength Finders, which really measures your DNA across 34 different strengths, and then spits it out for you. If you're going to buy it, go to strengthfinders.com, or if you buy the book, there's a code in the back of it. I recommend getting the more complete, the full 34. I think it's like $100-ish. The full 34, not just the 5. But it will spit out for you all of your strengths in order, really with focusing most of its attention on the top 5 or top 10. My top 5 are strategic, relator, positivity, activator, and communicator, which means that I lead with influencing themes, which will be important in 2 seconds. This is a great tool for your whole team to use. It's matter of fact. It's written in great, clear language. And we use it at Double Forte so that we all know what each other's strengths are. And so when we put together teams, we can see each other's strengths and go, oh, look, I got 9 communicators and no strategics, or I got whatever it is. So that we might say, on this kind of thing, we want someone else, another kind of strength in this situation. But you can't know that unless you do the work. But it's pretty easy to do. Everybody benefits from it. Absolutely. I think everyone benefits from all this stuff. MBTI, Myers-Briggs, like one of the oldest in business. I remember I did this in college so long ago when it was not as prevalent as it is today. It's the 16 different personality types of Myers-Briggs. I'm an ENFP, and depending on who's talking about an ENFP, that means I'm a campaigner, the imaginative motivator, the champion. So a lot of influencing things there. And I'll put all the links to these in the show notes page. The DISC profile, which measures DISC, which measures against dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. And you can have a natural state and an adaptive state. And I've done this assessment several times in my career, and I've seen an evolution of my adapted state based on learning more about where I can be misunderstood. So my natural state is very high influence. Like I can't really get too much higher than that. I'm a promoter. Like on this, there's a star thing that they give you a chart, and I couldn't be higher on the promotion scale, which helps me since I'm a campaigner and my strengths are relator and activator, as I said, and I work from the influencing themes. The dominance, I am high dominance, my natural state. I'm very below average on steadiness. I'm very low. I mean, it's barely a tick on conscientiousness. My adapted state is different. It is pretty dramatically different around dominance, where I'm probably in the top 80 percentile in dominance in my natural state. In my adapted state, my work state, I'm below 40%. And that really just shows you evolution for me. I'm such a high driver that I've learned I need to step back and tamp down my tendency just to run ripshot over everybody, because I could. I could definitely. And sometimes I need to, but I usually don't. And I am a much stronger listener and asker of input than I ever was early in the first 15, 20 years of my career. We are a high input, low democracy organization at Double Forte. Requires me to ask for input all the time. So my adapted state is much lower in dominance. Still as high, maybe even higher. I don't even know how I could get higher, but in influence, a little higher in conscientiousness, a little higher in steadiness. So super helpful. The Enneagram, which is one of the oldest personality rationalities. I mean, it's ancient. Until really recently, it was really just an oral tradition of personality, and there are 9 types, 9 numbers, 9 styles, if you would. I'm an 8, the active controller, the challenger, the protector, depending on who's interpreting the Enneagram. And more specifically, I'm an SO or social 8, and I operate from which means I operate from the we instinct. So I say, it's all about us, we, the group, and particularly as I've gotten better at listening and asking for input, this we has become much, much stronger. My wing, there's wings and all this stuff in Enneagram. My wing is a 9, which is the adaptive peacemaker, which flavors my 8 sort of with mental calmness or equanimity, which I love that word, equanimity. But if you see, those are just 4 of the type indicators I really, really like. They all can give you lots and lots of detail. But you can see even how I talked about them, there's nothing black and white on them. We're all complex beings, and knowing ourselves helps us see where to lean in and where we need to shore up in terms of being clear. For particularly around the dominance driver, natural state that I am in the DISC profile, really hit home for me in terms of my leadership, how to allow other people to drive, how to allow other people to set the tone and to make decisions that don't require my interference. And I've worked with so many people who just do everything for everybody, and I don't want to be that person. Really, and I use the DISC, well, actually use all 4 of them to help me understand that so I could become the leader that I wanted to become. I'm optimistic. I'm a pro-human. That's a long story. We'll talk about some other time. But my being optimistic, because I'm such an optimist and I'm so pragmatic, which are sometimes diametrically opposed, but in me, they live. It's hard to hear sometimes for people who don't share that type with me. So I know this about myself, and I knew I need to temper that optimism with facts and pragmatism so that everyone can hear and understand me. So if I am rose-colored glasses, tulips are blooming kind of person, I'm not going to get a diverse team. B, I'm going to miss a lot of people along the way. Another way to understand yourself is to articulate your values and purpose. And first, let's just talk about personal values. This is all over the place, and we've particularly talked about it in my book, Millennials in Management, and then Boomerang Principle, around how individuals can the best organizations are made up of people whose individual values align with the corporate values. And we're going to talk about the two different things there, the individual values and the corporate values. So I'm going to recommend to you the book Unstuckable, Heather Kernan. And she has a great section in her book about identifying your values so that you can be in alignment with your work, because it's really all up to you to be in alignment. And she has a whole value selector page or section of her book early on. I think it's chapter 1 or 2. And really it's about choosing words that resonate with you, that, what are the 3, 4, 5 max words that resonate with you so that you can identify what's most important to you, right? When you understand what's most important to you and you have your type indicator, man, you're just a powerhouse. You can be so powerful because it just comes from a place of authenticity. So her point of view is Heather's on page 16. I really can't recommend this highly enough to you. She's got something like 75 words here, and just choose the ones that make sense to you. My values, I've done this work. My values are impact or contribution to the world, love, being positive love, loving all people, the possibility that we all have huge possibility, huge potential, happiness and joy, and depending on, could be joy, could be happiness. But those really are the 4 ones. Impact, love, possibility, and joy. And everything I do, if I don't have one of those 4 things, then I'm out of alignment. But if you understand where you're coming from, and then you understand how yours matches up with your company's, then you can just be much clearer. There's no confusion. What you say doesn't grate on your soul, because people know when it grates on your soul, for sure. When we talk about company values, as important as personal values are to you, company values are the vital to a team or an organization. Good company values are what guides a company towards its vision. And when I say good, I don't mean good words. I mean specific values with associated behaviors that are the DNA of an organization. So let's talk about that. So we've all seen the posters: excellence, timeliness, grit. These, there's words on a wall, or they're on a cup, or whatever it is. And just one word without the associated description and value, and behaviors is not that helpful, right? Because my excellence might be your mediocrity, or vice versa. Or my teamwork might be your individual contributor, because the definitions of the words you use in organizations is super, super important, because they're not all the same going from organization to organization. So my point of view is that you can't have a healthy organization without strong values. And by strong, I mean values that are fundamental to how you do business, how you make decisions, and how you operate as a team. I'm going to recommend another book to you, because, I'm all about the books. This has been, what Pat Lencioni, if you don't know Pat Lencioni, not sure where you've been, because I've probably talked about Pat Lencioni 1 million times. But this book, The Advantage, well, there you go. Why organizational health trumps everything else in business. He goes through a process of how to decide what your values are in a company, what the values are, what the behaviors are. Super easy to understand. It's a great process. I highly recommend it. In fact, we did it at Double Forte. So at Double Forte, we look at this every sort of 5 years. to make sure that we're relevant and contextually it's correct, because words change, situations change. We actually looked at this last year and we decided, yep, these are good. These have kept us going through COVID and they're going to keep us going. So at Double Forte, we use the advantage process. And there's really 3 types of values that Pat Lanciani talks about. One are core values. These are non-negotiable. They are the DNA building blocks of your organization. Permission to play values, which are the ones that are that's the minimum. These are the ones that get you in the door. If you're not these values or you don't exhibit these values, you can't be on the team. And then aspirational values, just acknowledging that we never get, do we ever get where we're going? Because as soon as we get there, we need to go somewhere else. So aspirational is what we aspire to be, what we shoot for, knowing that we can get better all the time, knowing that we're imperfect beings and imperfect organizations. So at Double Forte, we actually measure on these things. So our first one is we are a team, is the word. We are a team. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different descriptions of that. We know our best work is done together. We are accountable, do what we say when we're going to do it on time. We do not leave our teammates hanging. We over communicate with our teammates about timelines, workflows, roles, and expectations. We bring ideas to other people or teams whenever we see something can be improved. We don't let people out there if we say, oh, you know what? Here's an idea that might improve. And we create a safe space for teammates to share their experiences, their problems, their solutions. That is what team means to us. Our second value is trust. We trust each other. And and the behavior there is we assume good intent of our colleagues, clients, and partners. And that's it. So if something goes awry and you piss somebody off, you assume, the other person needs to assume that they didn't mean to piss you off. And it really, pops the balloon in so many things, or lets the air out of the tire in situations that could escalate. Our last core value is contribute. Everyone contributes. And by this, we mean we treat everyone equally and equitably, regardless of title. Doesn't matter. We voice and listen to different and contrary ideas in a constructive manner to improve our decisions in everyday work and culture. We always produce pass-alongable work and don't add to a client or colleague workload. This is super important for us. If you do work that other people have to make ready, you are not contributing. You're contributing to angst. You're not contributing to the end results. So always producing pass-alongable work means that you've done your absolute best to make it client ready or outside world ready or whatever it is. And you're asking the next person, that's a team, that your work can be improved, but it's not the fundamentals. It's not the fundamentals of sentence structure. It's not the fundamentals of formatting. It's not the fundamentals of whatever. It's the ideas can be improved, right? We actively participate and contribute to company culture, events, meetings, and initiatives. So everyone, regardless of title, contributes. One of the things we do at staff meeting, we rotate on blog. Every week is a different person writing the blog. Every week it's a different person giving a presentation throughout the company, regardless of title. We explain how and why we make decisions so that everyone understands the rationality behind things. We are resourceful, always seeking information, help, and opportunities for self and team. So we don't say, hey, how do you do that? Hey, I know I didn't know how to do this before, but I forgot. No. We find the answer and we double check. And lastly, that we know that everyone is on their own development and growth plan. So, Sally as an AE may have different aspirations than George as an AE. We're all on different ones. I'm not going to go through all of these, but those are our core values. Our permission to play values, that we play well with others, and there's 5 behaviors there. We're resilient. We don't give up easily. There's 5 things there. Perform is the word, but really it means get shit done well. We're accountable for our own work. We maintain high standards as demonstrated through results, thoroughness, timeliness, quality, blah, blah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And our aspirational values are impactful, be a force. We aspire to be a force for good, clarity, Hey, look at that. It's the word of the year. We seek radical clarity in our written, oral, and animated communication, prioritizing facts, intent, and tone to convey our thoughts and ideas. And joy. We love what we do. We find joy in our work days, and we look for fun in the day, and we share it. So those are our DNA. And with the behaviors that are associated with those, with those chosen values that we have created together, and are updated to be relevant in a certain time period. If you don't have them, go get them. If you don't know what the language and the behaviors are associated with the values that are on a cup or a mug in your company, dive in. If you're the leader and you think everybody knows, go ask them, and you will get lots of different answers for what excellence means. And I cannot recommend the book, The Advantage by Pat Lencioni, enough in this process. He is just a genius in terms of good language, effective storytelling, and example so that you can follow a path and not have to create everything yourself. So once you understand who you are, who the organization is, then you have a foundation to move from. You understand your behaviors, you understand what you're all about, and you understand your intent. And when you understand your own intent and your own strengths and weaknesses, then you're in a position to be able to convey thoughts in an effective, efficient manner. And it just makes everything easier. When you can communicate authentically as a person or organization, your life, your team, your business, your volunteer group, whatever it is, everything is better. And as much as being clear requires you to be clear about yourself and your organization, being clear requires active communication. And the first thing you need to know and the last thing you need to know, you're going to hear it a lot, is that you're never done. Number one. And that and then once you've said it once is never enough. Once is never enough. One and done? I don't know. Good for toast, not good for anything else. And you're going to be thinking, oh my gosh, didn't I already say this? Didn't I already say this? I thought I said this. And yes, you did. You did say it. But if everyone who needs to didn't hear it, didn't understand it, and didn't apply it, it wasn't said. So getting people to understand and apply, like moving to apply, that could be performance. And we're not going to talk about that here. But hear and understand, that's your job. That's your job as a communicator, not the receptor's job. So you're not done communicating until everyone on your team can finish your sentences, which means you're never done because you're done and then something changes. A new person comes on, someone leaves or changes roles, gets promoted. You have a new project, so you have to reshuffle the deck, whatever it is. It's sort of like airports, right? I've flown so many miles this year. Every time I fly, I'm like, I was just at this airport 2 months ago, and they're still upgrading a new thing. It feels like an airport, right? As soon as they're done, they get from one gate all the way to the other gate, and then they start all over again. Same thing with communication. You're never done. Don't let this make despair for you. Just know that it's a continual process, and you'll always have something to do. Always have something to do to communicate. And frankly, in a world where people are worried about AI taking over their jobs, here's where technology cannot replace you in your ability to connect with all different kinds of people with active communication that reaches different people in the ways they need to absorb the message. And it requires a lot of pivoting. It requires a lot of listening. It requires a lot of adjusting. And I'm not sure the technology can replace that for us. I don't think so. So what does active communication require? It requires clear, active language, repetition, reinforcement, different modalities, and context. Like you're saying something, you don't say something into a bubble. You have to say something that lands in a world, in a day, in a situation, and it will be interpreted through that lens. So the context super matters, right? As much as the medium is the message, you need to use different mediums to reach different audiences with the same message. And it's challenging. When I started my career, back in the day when I walked uphill both ways through the snow to school, you had the memo, you had a phone call, you had television, radio, and newspapers and magazines. Today, we get hold of people. We have a whole communication norms at Double Forte, and hopefully you all do too, which is, when do you use Slack? When do you use text? When do you use Monday? When do you use the Sun? I mean, all the things, because there's all different ways to get hold of people and hold information. And you need structure around all those different ways of getting hold of everybody on a team, so that everyone knows how to operate together. Just doing everything is not beneficial, right? I'm going to Slack them, and then I'm going to Facebook message them, then I'm going to DM, then I'm going to go to TikTok. Then no, you've got to choose that yourself, and that's probably worthy of its own podcast at another date about being clear. So, active communication requires transferring your idea to another person so they hear, understand, and apply it. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. You've heard me say this before. We used to use the number 12 in marketing or communications. The 12 times the person had to hear a message or see a message for it to be in the right place, for it to be heard and understood or acted on. And now we use the number 37. It's probably higher now. I'm going to have to go look at that. I'll be depressed if it's higher, but it's probably higher now. And I'm not saying you have to email 37 times. That's not what I'm saying at all. Because particularly in a company, you have a captive audience. But one and done, like I said before, is you're never done. So that means regular and frequent communication. So that might mean lots of different things. A team leader email once a week, reinforce it in Slack, remind people 10 days later, send an audio or a video message, make a podcast about it, put it in your newsletter, say it at your company meeting, put that video onto your LinkedIn or your Facebook group, put it on a t-shirt, put it on a mug, make sure you have the full description of it on the mug. Find humor. Humor helps you tell these things, right? Have people say it back to you or repeat the key messages in their own communications. See what you get. I can tell you, been doing this for a long time, it is very seldom we walk into a new client, and in our audit of a new client, we try to talk to at least 12 people in different parts of the organization, hopefully more. I can count on two fingers in my whole three fingers in my whole career where all 12 people said the same thing when we asked them the question, what is your company's mission? And we in general talk to people in leadership positions. Ask 12 people, get 12 answers. That's not good. A mission is something everyone should be able to repeat itself, and I think Microsoft, a personal computer on every desk. There you go. Everybody could say that. Get that clear. What is your mission? And until everybody in your organization can repeat it back to you, it doesn't matter, because they're just going to be creating confusion and chaos in the market. So use the same message until you can't bear it anymore, and then say it again, and then say it again. The first time you say something is just that, the first of many times you need to say something. The easiest way to remember to repeat yourself is to plan it, to make things a habit. And I think I've talked about this book before, Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you haven't read it, this is a book you need to read. See how many, you can't see it on obviously on the podcast, but I have, 15 stickies on this book, and I've written all over it. So transformational. But communication is a habit. You should make communication a habit so that it's clear. On your calendar, put it in there. A weekly CEO email, a weekly staff meeting, monthly training. At Double Forte, like I said earlier, we have a presentation at every staff meeting where people get to present new data or information, share successes or learnings, but everybody in the company gives these presentations, regardless of level. And then the day after their presentation, they send an email reminding people of that. And then on the Friday, we have these meetings on Tuesday. On the Friday, they send a summary email. And then 10 days later from the presentation, they send another email with the more information and links to everything, including a video. So there's no way that people didn't get at least 3 touch points on every presentation. So if we have our staff go to the trouble of doing a presentation on something that people should know, then we have to set up the process so that other people can be reminded, have it be searchable, have it at their fingertips. So you might be doing monthly trainings, QBRs, quarterly business reviews. Put it in your internal email signature, whatever your key message is. Put it in there. Make sure it's on the inside, unless it's an outside. It could be a world message, but you can change your signature for internal and external. Put it in your signature. Change your signature every week or every month or whatever it is. So, to be clear, we talked about how to be authentic, know yourself, know your values. Going to be compelling, active language, not a lot of convoluted sentences, and going to be frequent and repetitive. Which leads me to number 3, everything speaks. How handy. And this is the fact that everything you do speaks for you too. Not only what you said, not only what you wrote down, but your behavior, which is why in values it's so important to have behaviors that everybody can articulate and understand how to behave in a way that brings that value to life. So make sure that what you do matches what you say. As the saying goes, actions speak louder than words. As Maya Angelou said, when people show you who they are, believe them. They show you through behavior. They don't necessarily show you from, a memo. So what are those behaviors that are going to demonstrate you mean what you say? One of the easiest ones, put down your phone. Put down your phone when you're talking to people. How often have you been on a Zoom call when someone's phone goes off and they look away from the camera? How often? Turn your phone off when you're talking to people. What does that say? That says to the other person, you're paying attention to them, you're listening, you're engaged. Why bother? Be there unless you're engaged. Make those meetings shorter. Be focused, right? Tell people you're paying attention. If you say you value team and you value people and then you ignore them when you're with them, you don't value team and you don't value people. That's the deal. Another one, I've talked about this earlier, I think also in November maybe, on inclusion and how Double Forte adopted inclusive language guidelines, which is quite challenging for me, specifically. Much easier for the younger people on the team. So if you say you value inclusion, well, then you need to go all in and learn about and adopt an inclusive language format. And if you don't, it's just lip service, no pun intended, which gets you nowhere, right? If you say you value all people and then you use terms that are derogatory or reinforce oppression, even if you don't know, you got to know, then those two things do not match. And when they don't match, it don't matter. I think particularly around behaviors and language, it's really important that we ask people. We get lots of input on this. Not that everyone's input is going to be incorporated. It'll be incorporated. Every input is incorporated in thinking, but you need to ask a lot of different, because you're not those people. And if there's I'm of one generation, people are in other generations. I grew up on the East Coast, 2 white parents. One was a farmer, poor farmer. One was from, the Main Line in Philadelphia. I mean, oh my gosh, right? All these things. If you didn't grow up like I did, I went to a Quaker school. If you didn't grow up like I did, those people would get me. But I'm the only one. Me and my sisters. But you know what I mean. Ask people so that you can come to a common understanding. And I'm going to talk more in future podcasts about this. But understand this, a company culture is defined by the worst language and the worst behavior it allows. So if you're not clear on what those things should be, there is no standard of deviation from which to move. So I've gone way too long today. As usual, nothing new here. It's something I feel very passionate about, why I chose this word for 2024, clarity, or the term being clear. So let's be clear in 2024. And now is the perfect time to start. Commit to being clear this year and see the dramatic difference it's going to make for you in your life and your organization. All right, everybody, until next time, I'm Lee Caraher, and this is Everything Speaks.